So, hey guys, this is your health coach Rahul, and today I am speaking from Pune. I am out here for a few days at my sister's place, and it's a good change and a change which is looking quite positive. Uh, Coming from Mumbai to Pune is a big change for my system because the air is different and definitely a change in the energy levels that you feel when you are outside Mumbai. Uh, that creates much higher oxygen levels when you're breathing in the fresh air out here. So just to show you where I am right now, this is how Pune looks. So the parts around Pune are beautiful and it feels nice to be in a different place. So today I am going to discuss about breakfast. Is breakfast important for us? Do we need to really have that first meal in the day that we call breakfast? Uh, what do you guys think? Do you think breakfast is important for us? That's one favorite topic of mine, which I love to speak to everyone. So, do you consider that breakfast is important? If you consider breakfast is important, you can type in and tell me why do you consider breakfast is important. And if you think breakfast is not important, you can also type in and say why breakfast is not important. So, we are going to discuss about physiologically what's happening in the morning, and why you should not be having a breakfast. Yes, you heard me right. You heard me correct. That we should not be eating breakfast ideally. We don't need to eat a breakfast ideally. Uh, Breakfast actually was conceptualized in the 1930s, 1940s on the American televisions when they were trying to uh, sell the ready-made food, sell the sell a family a dream of using microwave and ovens or whatever was existing that time, and the ready-made food was getting popular, or they wanted to push the ready-made food. So that's the time when breakfast became popular, and it caught up all over the world because whatever the West does, everyone thinks that is correct. And over a period of time, it has become a belief system that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, which is not true. And we need to understand why it is not true, not just because I'm saying it, but physiologically, what is happening inside all of us. So, whatever we eat throughout the day, and mostly Indians, as we know, is basically are used to eating carbohydrates as their main source of energy. So almost 90 to 80 to 100% at times, entire meal at times is only carbohydrates. So what happens physiologically when we eat so much carbohydrates? Where is it stored in the body when we eat carbohydrates? And why not eating breakfast is a smart thing that you can do to improve your health. So, breakfast is the most unimportant meal of the day, and you all should focus on extending or delaying your eating periods as much as possible. And yes, that gets you into fasting, and which is also known as intermittent fasting nowadays. So, again, understanding when we eat carbohydrates, what happens? The carbohydrates, what we eat, get converted into blood glucose, and the excess blood glucose, whatever our body has, gets stored as reserve fuel, and that reserve fuel is basically stored in your organ called as liver. So liver has multiple functions. One of the functions of liver is to store glucose in the form of glycogen, and that glycogen is utilized in the times like when we have stress. So let's say if there is a fight or flight situation, we need instant energy that time to react to a threat for to a life. So let's say if we are being attacked by someone, or if a snake comes in front of us, or if there's a car which brakes really fast in front of us, then we need to pay attention and react quickly, and we need to get away from the situation or fight. So our muscles need energy that time. So glucose is stored as glycogen in liver. Liver can store anything around 150 to 200 grams of glycogen, and that glycogen is instantaneously converted back to glucose to give you that energy in such dire circumstances or such emergency circumstances where you need quick energy. Our muscles are also pockets of energy, so our muscles are also going to store glycogen. So glucose is stored in our muscles. So that's why bigger muscles, bigger pockets of energy that you have. So you can perform for a longer period of time, and you can actually perform better if you have larger muscles. So if you want instant energy, glycogen is converted to glucose, and that's how our body gets energy during the fasting periods or energy during the emergency or the fight or flight situation. So we need to give respect to that and understand how it works. There is something called dawn phenomena that starts at about 3 a.m. in the morning. And what is that dawn phenomena? Your cortisol levels naturally start increasing in the system. So in the fight or flight situation also, what happens is initially your adrenal glands are releasing cortisol, and that cortisol triggers the release of epinephrine and norepinephrine, and all these hormones and chemical messengers go and trigger or stimulate your liver to release the glycogen, and then the glycogen is broken down by certain enzymes, turned back into glucose and pushed into your blood to give you that energy. So we have this reserve storage of energy in our system, in our liver and our muscles, in the form of glycogen, which can remain there if we keep eating carbohydrates all the time, and which it will never get utilized. And what happens in today's population is that we are having meals quite frequently. So we get up and we eat something to break the fast. So that's called the breakfast. Then after 2 hours or 3 hours, a lot of people are used to having either tea or coffee or some fruit juice or fruit. Then you again eat after 2 hours. Then after that time, then the lunch time happens. So people are pretty fixed about eating on a regular basis, and the intention of eating on a regular basis is, of course, to remain healthy, to remain lively, to have good energy throughout the day, so that you can focus, you can think properly. But what is happening because of these habits that we have developed over a period of years, because we have been told to do so, we have been asked to eat frequently, nutritionists, the health guidelines, the food pyramid, doctors, everyone has made breakfast really the most important meal of the day, and they say breakfast is going to basically support you, a good breakfast is going to support you, your energy, your thinking for throughout the day. So that's why eating breakfast is the most important meal of the day, which I am not saying, the health guidelines saying. So I am completely against, on the other side of the border, who says breakfast is not important at all. But let's say, what are the food guidelines and what are the doctors or what are the nutritionists telling you to eat in the breakfast? They encourage you to have fruits, fruit juice. They encourage you to have cereals. They encourage you to have poha in the Indian meals, or upma or dosa or idli or medu vada. Some of the nutritionists are very, very keen on pushing the traditional meals in the morning. Parents encourage their kids to have the energy drinks, that is Bonvita or Boost or Horlicks. But if you look closely, what actually are the macronutrients in the breakfast that is pushed to the general population? It is nothing but carbohydrates. And what it does is basically, see, carbohydrates is basically going to, as we know, going to be converted to glucose. And whenever anything gets converted to glucose, that's carbohydrates, it triggers your pancreas. So glucose is going to trigger pancreas, and pancreas is going to release insulin. Now, cortisol, as I spoke earlier, at 3 a.m. in the morning, the dawn effect starts. The dawn effect is basically where your cortisol naturally, God has made for it, made certain planning for humans, and naturally the cortisol levels start rising up, 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 and higher the cortisol levels in the morning, as we have also understood what happens in fight and flight situation, fight or flight situation, is cortisol triggers the release of stored glycogen, and that's exactly what is naturally happening in the morning, in the dawn phenomena. So cortisol rises up, it triggers all the reactions of epinephrine, norepinephrine, growth hormone, all these amazing releases of chemical messengers is happening, which triggers the release of glycogen. And that stored glycogen, which is about 150, 200 grams, is available for you to use, which we never use because everyone considers breakfast as the king of the meals, breakfast as most important meal of the day, and that breaks that cycle. That breaks that cycle of utilizing that glycogen, which is available for us by nature, by God, by design, in our system, in our liver, in our muscles. We never utilize that. Most of the population never utilize those glycogen levels because they don't fast enough, they break the fast too early, and they eat too frequent meals, which is comprising of nothing but carbohydrates. People have been slowly pushed away from eating the quality nutrition, that is proteins and fat. It has been it's been strategized for a long period of time by the media, by the fake sponsored science, to push people away from the real nutrition, that is the meat and the fat, saturated fat. And that has left the present population not just with excess energy in the body. So when I say excess energy in the body, you can see the layers of fat on your body. So if you just hold your skin, it will be a thick. You can actually hold a big part of your skin, and you can actually not feel proud about yourself for having that kind of fat on your body. And if you see, the best example is the statues which have been sculpted years back in Europe or even in India or anywhere. The statues do not look obese at all. All the statues, the old ancient statues, are all muscular or lean or thin. But if you look at today's population, if you think about that sculptor today trying to make a statue out of the present population, it will be really, really bad. So it will be like an obese statue coming out and trying to describe a human being. But if you eat the correct nutrition and if you respect the natural processes of evolution for the human body, if you respect the design that the nature has given to us, then you will lose that fat. So if you just catch hold of your stomach, you will have a big layer of fat in your hand. If you catch hold of your waist, there will be a big layer of fat in your hand. If you hold your chin, there will be a big layer of fat on your chin. So you can look at my chin. I hardly have any fat on my chin. And people always feel that, hey, I have lost all my weight, but I have never lost the weight on my chin. And this is very toxic fat. So all the toxic fat which gets accumulated in your body gets accumulated below your chin, around your waist, especially the love handles that everyone talks about, and on your hamstrings. So fat is the area where the toxins are stored, and this fat keeps on accumulating because you never give a chance to your body to fast enough. And this stored glycogen in your liver and your muscle pockets, whatever muscle is left in the population who is not exercising and is carbohydrate dependent, is very, very minimal, considering what they should have. So it is never utilized. So this energy remains stagnant in your body. So this energy, this excess energy, the glycogen in your muscle pockets, the glycogen in your liver, remains stagnant. Now going back to the early morning, the dawn phenomena. The dawn phenomena is such that the cortisol that time is our friend. Cortisol is helping us. And when we eat a carbohydrate rich diet, it releases insulin. In presence of insulin, that means whenever insulin is released, cortisol levels will drop down. That is what happens. And in the morning, when cortisol is trying to do its work, it's trying to help us burn that extra fat in our system. When that cortisol is helping us to burn that reserve source of energy in our liver and in our muscle pockets, we break that cycle by introducing carbohydrates in our breakfast. And what happens because of that? Insulin is released. Moment insulin starts secreting, the brain says, cortisol, you have to go down. So cortisol says, okay, fine, I'm going down, but I'm not going to utilize the reserve fuel, and I'm also not going to burn the fat in the body. So over a period of years, when you keep eating a breakfast which is carbohydrate rich, what happens is the excess energy which is stored in your liver and your muscle pockets remains there stagnant for many years, and you're again eating more carbohydrates. That is adding to the energy which is not required by your body at that particular point of time. You already have energy stored in your body, so you are putting one layer after another of glucose in your body all the time without needing it. And what happens? All that extra glucose gets converted to fat, and the layers that you can hold on your body are nothing but that extra energy which you are accumulating over a period of years, right from your childhood. It is not something that has happened to you because you have turned 30. It is not something that is happening to you because you have turned 40. It is not because of that. It is because of our wrong understanding about nutrition. And right from the childhood, not because of your fault, your parents believed in the kind of nutrition that needs to be given to the children. So not your fault again. It is the fault of the parents. Again, it is not the fault of your parents because they have grown up on this belief taught to them by their parents. Yeah. And somewhere down the line, the great grandparents did not believe in this. They would not have the breakfast. They would have probably a lunch and probably a dinner, and they would be not having any snacks. So somewhere down the line, this belief system changed because of the people who we trusted kept on telling us, because of the media that we trusted kept on telling us that eating breakfast is most important, eating frequent meals is more important, eating fruits all the time. Fruits are given the image about fruits have been created in such a way that they are the most healthiest and they are kind of the lifesavers, but it is not so. And I have no second thought when I say this. Fruits are not healthy. Fruits in limited quantity, selective fruits, local, seasonal, ancient fruits were healthy. The fruits what we get today are genetically modified, are full of preservatives, are full of infused sugar, and imported fruits are definitely not healthy. Okay, mango is one of the fruits which looks beautiful, which smells beautiful, but is definitely not the healthiest of the fruits. I personally love mangoes. I have grown up on eating dozens of mangoes, but that was my mistake. And by the time I realized that what was my mistake, I already had put on a lot of weight. Though because I'm tall, I can carry off a lot of weight on my body, carry off a lot of fat on my body, but that is not necessarily correct. If you are a person who can hold his stomach, chin, or any part of the body and have a layer of fat in your body, that means that itself is a sign that your metabolic system is not working correctly. You have multiple layers of energy which need to be cut down by fasting, and that is excess energy in your body. Now that is fat energy what we're talking about when we hold and see that, oh, I've got so much fat. People also feel happy about being fat. I don't know why this picture has been created by the media. It's probably sponsored by the food industry to make people feel comfortable in their unhealthiest self. How can you convince a sick person to eat more? How can you convince an obese person to eat more? How can you convince some unfit person to keep doing the wrong things again and again in life? Is by making them believe that whatever they are fine, and the world needs to change to see the way they are and accept them the way they are. So this psychological warfare has been going on for years. Media tries to convince you that even if you are sick, obese, fat, unhealthy, people should accept you the way you are, and they make you believe that that's how you're supposed to be. No, you're not supposed to be unhealthy. No, you're not supposed to be obese. These are the problems created by the food that you're eating all the time. These are the problems that are being created by the wrong food that you've been eating all the time. Frequent meals of fruits and carbohydrates and juices and this processed food. Better stay away from that. One simple rule that you should follow is do exactly opposite of what the conventional medicine is telling you, what the conventional nutritionist is telling you, what the conventional doctor is telling you. Exactly opposite. If someone tells you to eat 6 meals in a day, a nutritionist, eat only 1 meal a day and you would be healthiest yourself. If someone says meat is bad for you, if your doctor says meat is bad for you, leave everything else, eat only meat and you will be the healthiest of yourself. And I don't blame the doctors and the nutritionists, because the institutions that have actually educated them do not wish you to be the healthiest self. Because imagine if the entire population in the world becomes healthy, why would you need such big hospitals? Why would you need such a huge number of doctors? Why would you need the pharmacies? Why would you need the nutritionists? If everyone knows what to eat, if everyone knows how to exercise, why would you need the healthcare industry? The healthcare industry exists on your ignorance. The healthcare industry survives on people's ignorance. So if I educate you into wrong food habits, if I educate you into the wrong fake science and make you do exactly what you're not supposed to do, and if I am the person who's selling healthcare, I am going to be benefited. I will be basically filling up my coffers, my bank. Yeah. So be smart, be smart. God has made us smart. He has given us the best brain on this planet. That's why we are on the top of the chain of all the animals and beings. That's why we have progressed in so many different fields. Start asking questions. Ask questions to your doctors. So getting back to your breakfast. Breakfast is the least important meal of the day. If you are eating one meal a day, OMAD, you can select any time of the day and have your meal, and that is fine, because the remaining 23 hours you would be fasting and you would be utilizing that stored energy. That excess energy in your system is going to be utilized. Your body will get a chance to burn the fat, your body will get a chance to empty the reserve source of energy, that is glycogen, and these extra layers of fat that you have in your body around your chest. A lot of men develop a lot of fat around the chest. That is because of excessive estrogen in the system. Estrogen is triggered again by excess fat in the body. Excess fat is triggered by excess blood glucose in the body, and excess blood glucose is triggered by eating constantly carbohydrates. So if you understand this chain, and if you're a man with basically gynecomastia, when I talk about gynecomastia, is that men developing flabby chest, yeah, that is a sign that your estrogen levels are high, and you need to start doing fasting. That's number one thing. This number two is you need to start cutting down your carbohydrates. If you are a woman and who is becoming heavier on the upper body, above the waist, and thin on the lower body, and are also experiencing emotional issues, or also experiencing fibroids or PCOS or PCOD, in other words, that is a sign of excess androgen hormones. Yeah. So men react differently to excessive carbohydrates, become obese, start having flabby chest, can have erectile dysfunction, can have hypertension, heart disease. Women react differently to excess carbohydrates, excess glucose. They can start having PCOD, they can become heavier on the upper body, thin on the lower body, the face becomes big, the chin starts developing more fat, you become more aggressive as a woman, and you become a lot of times a no nonsense kind of an attitude develops. But that's not because you're naturally like that, but the androgen hormones, the men hormones are increasing, the testosterone is increasing in your system, and that makes you kind of aggressive. So these are hormonal changes which happen and are actually making the the male and the female kind of becoming opposites. The males are becoming more like women, the women are becoming more like males. There's a lot of confusion in the mind, and people don't know what they are a lot of times, and they confuse between their gender. So it is a hormonal issue. I'm not talking against any particular gender over here, whether it is transgender, male or female, or even the bisexual community or the gay community. I'm for everyone's freedom and respect all the different genders. So please do not quote me over here. And coming back to breakfast, breakfast is the least important meal because it cuts down the natural processes of the body to burn the fat. So in the morning, if you're one person who keeps having, oh, I want my morning chai with milk, and that sugar, that kind of wakes me up, then just imagine if that is happening to you, then there is something wrong with your system, because when you wake up, and with the moment you wake up, you should be able to think clearly. You don't need any stimulants to start thinking clearly. A lot of people I hear that मुझे सुबह का चाय नहीं पिएगा तो मेरा दिमाग काम नहीं करता है, देन आपका कुछ प्रॉब्लम है हेल्थ में, आपका बॉडी में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, उसको करेक्ट करो. सुबह उठने के बाद आपका ब्रेन सही काम करना चाहिए. चाय की ज़रूरत नहीं है, कॉफ़ी की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Then I have to have my morning fruit. I have to have my morning toast with jam. I want to have my dosa, my idli. No, you don't need that. Your body has enough energy in the morning. Your liver has enough stored energy. Your muscles have stored energy. Get used to it. Let your body do its job in the morning. Do not eat carbohydrates in the morning. If at all you want to eat something, have meat and proteins. If at all you want to eat something, have something that is protein oriented, along with a lot of fat, saturated fat. So we got to start thinking logically and asking questions. If I'm feeling like this, why am I feeling like this? If I'm not able to think in the morning, what is wrong with me? People with compromised thyroid, like hypothyroid. Hypothyroid is something where this brain fog happens in a lot of people, and they go undiagnosed for many years. So check your thyroid levels, check your TSH levels. Again, TSH levels, when we see the labs, again leave a lot of gray area in the lab tests. So they will give you a huge range of TSH from 3.5 onwards to 6.5. If your TSH is there, if it's present between this range, you don't have hypothyroid, or if your thyroid is okay. But that is not true again. So these pharmaceutical companies ensure that there's a lot of gray area in the lab tests, the lab range that we speak about, and that gray area actually helps the pharmaceutical industry and the doctors, because you remain in that gray area and you remain sick for a long period of time without realizing what is actually making you sick, and you keep on taking these small pills, going back to the doctor all the time, going back to your friendly neighborhood chemist and keep buying these small drugs to make you feel good. But if your thyroid is not working properly, then you will have multiple issues. Thyroid basically controls your metabolism, so you will also have weight issues, so you'll keep on putting on weight for a long time. So what are the ideal TSH levels? The ideal TSH levels are below 1.5. So if you have your lab tests, go back, check them in your email or your physical lab test, and check if your TSH levels are below 1.5. If they are above 1.5, that means you are moving towards sluggish thyroid, and you will have issues in basically losing weight. You will have issues in thinking. So it is not that you need chai. It is not that you need constantly eating to feel good. It is not that you are not working out enough. It is not that you are not gifted genetically. It is that you have not been told what is the truth. You have been kept purposely in the gray area. The black and white area, the truth is not told to you. The lab tests also keep you in the gray area, making you sick for a long period of time, keep you sick chronically, and that helps no one else but the healthcare industry, especially the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies and the hospitals, where finally someone gets admitted for an emergency or some kind of thing. So if you look at today's population and also count on the diseases which are common. Those are nothing but metabolic diseases, and it is called metabolic syndrome. So cancer, heart disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver, diabetes, hypertension, so obesity, these are nothing but metabolic diseases. Your thyroid controls your metabolism, fasting helps your metabolism, not eating breakfast helps your metabolism, uh, not eating frequent meals helps your metabolism, not eating fruits helps your metabolism, exercising helps your metabolism, sleep also helps your metabolism. So sleeping on the right time, and if you sleep on the right time, even that is going to help you have correct energy in the morning. When you sleep at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. and you wake up in the morning, you do not need an alarm to wake up. You do not need that chai in the morning to wake up. You do not need that coffee in the morning to wake up. You are fresh and you're ready to go. Don't have the breakfast, your energy levels will keep rising. Get used to it. You have a strong mind, you have a strong brain. Get used to it. And the more you keep delaying your first meal of the day, your body will remain in a fasted state. You will allow that stored glycogen in your liver and your muscles to be utilized. You will also allow your growth hormones to be released. You will also allow the detoxification, the natural process of throwing out the toxins and the dead cells. You will also allow that to happen in your body. So your skin will improve. You won't have the blackheads that you get in the skin. You won't have the extra skin growths that an insulin resistant person has. Your skin on the neck or below the armpits or around the groin, which is turning blackish. I know a lot of people who are insulin resistant. The first signs to check is the neck area. If it's turning black, you are becoming insulin resistant. If you are having skin tags, you are becoming insulin resistant. If you are having PCOD, you are insulin resistant. So wake up to these things. Understand these signs and symptoms that your body is trying to communicate with to you. That if the signs and symptoms that the body is communicating with are nothing but a request to change your habits. So to respect that. So the problem, other problem that I always find is that today's population has not been taught to identify what the problem is. So if I am not able to identify what the problem is, I don't know what the solution is. So in the school, we have never been taught about correct nutrition. In the school, we have never been taught about identifying the signs and symptoms of sickness, identifying the signs and symptoms of health. We have never been taught all these things. And that's why the population, right from the school time to the college, by the time you also start working somewhere or doing your own business, you have no clue to how to identify the signs and symptoms of sickness. So even if this basic thing, how to identify insulin resistance, is taught to children, that itself will be a game changer. So darkening of the skin, I see a lot of kids have darkened skin around the neck. Those kids are insulin resistant. A lot of kids become obese, really fat. Parents love them. Everyone loves them. Everyone loves the fat, chubby kid. But no, after the age of 2, the kid does not need to remain chubby and fat. Yeah. So for the first 2-3 years, that brown fat in the body of a child is going to always help. The brown fat is good fat. Yeah. The whiter the fat in the body, that is all storing the toxins. So if the child continues to remain chubby after the age of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then there is definitely a problem. That child is insulin resistant. If you check the lab tests of such a child, the HbA1c levels, even if they come normal, if you check the fasting insulin and PP insulin, that will be way high. And if you check the insulin resistance by doing the HOMA-IR test, even that will come positive. So there is a huge generation, today's generation, right from kids onwards, which is insulin resistant. And if you teach the kids how to recognize the signs of insulin resistance, it will be a game changer, because kids are very smart. They will go and teach their parents also, if you are insulin resistant, then you should not be eating this, you should not be eating that, you should be doing this, that. So if you're an insulin resistant person, first thing is to minimize your carbohydrates. So you can go on a low carb diet, low carb, moderate protein, high fat diet, and that really helps in changing your life. Yeah, changing in life, changing, making you a healthier person. A lot of people can get off the medications what they are going through. So it becomes a life changer, not just for one person, but life changer for the entire family. So if we are able to be the best version of ourselves, we do not need to depend on any kind of medication. And the first step to that is by respecting our morning dawn phenomena, by not eating breakfast. Allow cortisol to do its job. So cortisol peaks in the morning and it drops by evening. So that's a natural process or natural cycle that the body has. Cortisol does a job in the morning to release that stored glycogen, and cortisol levels come down over a period of time by evening, so that it starts triggering the other chemical messengers which can trigger sleep, etc., etc. It slows down the body, it slows down the processes of the body. So that's how the body is naturally aligned with the sunrise and sunset, that is the circadian rhythm. So our body is naturally aligned geographically wherever we stay with sunrise and sunset. So we are nothing but solar animals, solar beings. We are nothing but solar beings, and our cells need that solar energy. So if at all something is the best thing to do in the morning is to get the sun rays. So get out in the sun, and that is the most important thing to do in the morning. Breakfast is definitely not the most important. Breakfast you should not have. What you should have is the sunlight, because sunlight is the breakfast for your cells, and that is the energy that you need for you to survive all your life. It's not just the daytime. So morning workouts, yes, Seema, after a morning workout I feel hungry, so I have some protein. That's fine, but at least try and get some sun. Half an hour to 45 minutes of sun is more important in the morning than the breakfast. So if you, I would advise you to skip the breakfast, kick that breakfast out of your window. You let the food be there where it's supposed to be, not in your mouth, not in your stomach in the morning. Morning time, the cells, the trillions of cells that your body has, that needs sunlight. That is what you need in the morning, not the breakfast. Breakfast, if you eat, it stops all the natural processes of your body and it ends the fat burning cycle. So do not break your fast early. Break your fast as late as possible in the day and allow your body more time to burn off that fat. Lose that extra fat on your chin, lose that extra fat on your belly, lose that extra fat on your chest, lose that extra fat on your legs. Get the best version of yourself. So this was a talk from Pune today, and I felt like speaking about breakfast and trying to correlate with all the chemical messengers what we have in our body, trying to keep it as simple as possible for you all to understand. Please do let me know if you have any questions. So I'll stay on for the next another 5 minutes to answer your questions. So if you have any questions right now regarding health or nutrition or anything that you're experiencing right now, let's address that. Do you have any questions right now? So most welcome, Rishi. Sir, and to protein shake in milk, I can replace with almond milk. So do not have almond milk. Almond milk is a myth. It is not almond milk. It just looks white in color. And almond milk will come with lot of things that you don't need. And almond milk is not something which is recommended at all. So do not take almond milk. I would say just skip your breakfast, remain in fasting as long as possible. protein shake. Again, protein shakes are artificially flavored, so I don't know which protein shake you're having. So I wouldn't advise you to have anything processed in the morning. Let the body do its job. Milk is being, yes, Mahek, very true, milk being forced on people. You do not need to drink milk after the age of 2. Yeah, after the age of 2 years, you do not need to drink milk. You can have milk products. So you can have paneer, you can have cheese, you can have butter, because those are fermented by the bacteria, and all the non-essential part, that's the carbohydrates in that, that's the lactose in that, galactose, that is all removed from that, and it is basically then ready for human consumption. So the pathogens, the bacteria that live within us also help us outside by fermenting the food. Yes, kids are being forced to have milk, and milk infused with all these energy powders, which are again nothing but sugar and carbohydrates. So you're right, absolutely, Mahek. You do not, we parents need to understand that respect the hunger of the kids and let them eat when they are hungry. Yes, Seema, I would be uploading this video, and so you can always check this video out. No, Rishi, even milk comes with lactose, and that is not correct to have in the morning. So I normally do not recommend having milk after the age of 2. But if someone wants to have milk, but definitely not in the morning, source it from your local dairy and then have the fattiest milk possible. Diametize ISO 100. So I don't trust these protein making companies. So I really cannot recommend you any protein shake. So if you're having it, you please have it. But I mean, if you take my message from this video, morning breakfast is not important, even post workout. If you're not hungry, don't have it. Post workout, if your body is not triggering the hunger, don't have it. No need. Yeah, unless you're a bodybuilder who's trying to push the proteins all the time. If your intention is not to compete in bodybuilding, if your intention is to burn the fat off, if your intention is to burn the visceral fat, even post workout, don't eat or drink anything till you are hungry. Respect hunger. So giving almonds and walnuts to kids in the morning or as first meal. So you can give almonds and walnuts to kids in the morning, but again, respect their hunger. If they are hungry, give that to them, no issues at all. They have sugars in protein shakes. Yes, Mahek, they have sugars in protein shakes, and they are hidden with different names. So anything you don't understand in the ingredients parts, do your research and see if that is something that you should have. I don't eat eggs and meat. Yeah, so Rishi, first decide whether you want to have breakfast or not. I mean, if you take the message from this video, I am not recommending breakfast. Okay, so whenever you have protein, so you have the protein shake, but not in the morning. Whenever you're hungry, not after workout or not during the workout or not before the workout, you don't need all these protein shakes and all. Yeah, so respect hunger. Rishi, for protein supplementation, you can have cheese, you can have paneer, you can have nuts. So yes, Mahek, no requirement for shakes. Have shakes. Yeah, shakes don't have real protein. So the protein also can be manufactured through human hair. So the definition of proteins for the commercial industry is amino acids, a bunch of amino acids. That is a definition for protein. Now those amino acids can come from anywhere. The amino acids come from human hair also, or for an animal hair also. So if chemically I am able to separate those amino acids from human hair and combine it in the chain of amino acids that is defined as proteins, then I can easily make a powder out of it and sell it as a protein powder, as a protein shake. Yeah. So it all depends on where the amino acids are coming from. Is it coming from whey? It is coming from casein. So it all depends. So even if it's a protein powder, the source of amino acids which is in the protein powder is important. So the definition of protein for the food industry made by the governments, yeah, is basically benefiting them, not us. Yeah. So it's like organic food. The organic farming definition is made by government for the farmers, not for the consumers. For consumers, it's an illusion. Organic food. So we rush and we buy the organic fruit. But what is the definition of organic? Defined by government for the farmers. It is not for consumers. Chef Dhaval, is jackfruit flour good for diabetics? No, it is a myth. Jackfruit flour is not good for diabetics at all. What is good for diabetics is low carb meals, moderate protein, and high fat. Yeah. So first reverse your diabetes. First get back into normal levels of blood sugar levels. Then you may have the jackfruit flour. Yeah. So if you're a diabetic, it is definitely not. It will definitely work against you, because all these jackfruit flours or low glycemic fruits for diabetics only are uh, made to feel good, to keep you a diabetic. But they will convince you that have the jackfruit flour is good for diabetics. But are you telling me how to reverse my diabetes? No, you're not telling me. You're telling me what is good for a diabetic person. You're telling me a low glycemic fruit is good for a diabetic person, or XYZ bread is good for a diabetic person, XYZ product is made for diabetics. But no one in the healthcare industry, neither the government, neither the pharmaceutical companies are telling you how to reverse diabetes. But Rahul Patil here, My Genetic Nutrition, is telling you how to reverse your type 2 diabetes. I love educating people in how to reverse their diabetes. That is my mission in life. But pharmaceutical companies, they will make medicines to control your blood sugar levels. They will keep inventing and reinventing different drugs to control your blood sugar levels. The government will keep supporting the manufacturers who are making drugs for diabetes, but the government is not interested in reversing your diabetes. Why? There are millions of cases where people have reversed their diabetes with evidence. Why is not the government telling you how to reverse the diabetes based on that research? Because they are happy if you are sick. They are happy with your sickness because you are weak when you are sick. You are weak when you are sick, and you do not intend to fight. Your natural instincts to fight go away when you are a sick population. So the government is not interested in your health. Neither are the pharmaceutical companies who are interested in your health. What are they developing? They are developing drugs to maintain your blood sugar levels. So what does jackfruit flour do? It may give you a chance to maintain your blood sugar levels, but it is not going to reverse your diabetes. So look at the truth. Look at what they really mean. Look at what these authorities are trying to do. They are not giving you a chance to reverse your sickness, to reverse your disease. All what they do is, oh, we have made a product to maintain your blood sugar levels. This is a better product. The last product was having some side effects. This product has lesser side effects but is better. But buy this drug. Don't reverse your diabetes. This will maintain your blood glucose levels. That's the kind of message these people are giving to us. They are not revealing that diabetes is a food disorder and it can be reversed. Why are the people out there, so powerful people with all the information at their fingertips, are not telling you how to reverse diabetes? Why? Have you ever asked that question? No. Yes, Raghuveer? Hmm? So, yeah, so just just try and look at the messages which are actually behind what they're actually trying to say, the authorities. Take a message, eat only when hungry, and eat until you're full. Yeah, Mahek, you get that message very loud and clear. Low carb examples for layman. Low carb examples for layman. I mean, you just calculate the carbohydrates and weigh how much weight are you So the range of low carbohydrate consumption per day is anything from 25 grams to 125 grams. Now, should I eat 25 grams? Should I eat 100 grams or should I eat 75 grams? That is the question. So it all depends on your blood glucose response. It all depends on your insulin sensitivity. So if you are someone who's just trying to get rid of carbohydrates in your meals, then start with 125 grams a day and slowly reduce it to about 25 grams a day. Because a lot of people cannot do a change instantaneously. They need that gradual transition of eliminating carbs. So start with maximum 125 grams a day, which you can divide between 1 or 2 meals, and gradually decrease that 125 grams to about 25 grams a day. And the remaining nutrition should come from proteins and fat. So I hope I gave you the answer, Sanjita. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. I love you guys because you come here, you listen, also give me some amazing feedback. So if you have some more questions, some more feedback, if you have some good feedback about this video, if you have some bad feedback about this video, please leave the feedback on this video. I will post this video in some time. You can also directly message me with whatever doubts you have, whatever feedback you have about my videos that I make over here, the informative videos. I hope you get some kind of information when I make these videos. If you have some topics that you want me to speak on, do let me know. Most welcome Mahek, most welcome Rishi, most welcome everyone who saw this video. Thank you so much. Take care, have a nice day. Cheers and have a nice weekend too.